Hey everybody, welcome to Mindful Eating today. Today is our group is about mindful eating, and we're getting squared away. A couple of items of business. I think it's important that we remember, in order to record your attendance for today's group, and also in order to get your Perka points, stick around after the meeting is closed, when we end the meeting, because oh good, you can hear me. So stick around and fill out the survey, because that's going to record your attendance for today's group. It's also going to log your Perka points. So I want to, let's see, looks like everybody, Brandy, Kathy, Diana, Janet, Jennifer, Katie, Linda, Ron, Susan, great. And looks like everybody is signed in with your first name only, so that's a good thing. Take a look at, come on in, take a look at the bottom left, hey, corner. If you're on, looks like several people are on phones, several people are on desktops or laptops. If you're on a desktop or laptop, you can look in the bottom right-hand corner and you'll see the Mindful Eating handout. So what that is, you can upload, if you're on a desktop or a laptop, you can download this PowerPoint and print it for your convenience. So you can also access it at a later date in the archives, and look for the archive link. If you want to take a look at last week's virtual group, you can look at your Essentials newsletter or your Optifast newsletter, scroll all the way down, and the link to the archived video visits, video sessions rather, virtual group is going to be there. So, Elaine, yeah, did I miss your name earlier? Okay, so let's get going. There's a lot of, does anybody have any questions before we get started? Actually, I want to pause. Okay. Somebody let me know. Type a hey now, or type a let's get going, show on the road, whatever. Susan is, Katie or excellent, thank you. Y'all are a good crowd, good crowd. Thank you, Katie. Katie says ready. All right, so mindful eating. Mindfulness is a word that we hear a whole lot of, kind of in the culture, in TV programs, in advertisements. You see it on the internet, you see it in magazines, et cetera, et cetera. We're going to talk. Mention the newsletter. How do we access those? Oh, great question. So there is an Essentials newsletter. There is an Optifast newsletter. It's an email newsletter. If you're not receiving those, please let us know. And Josh is helping Susan with the newsletter. Yeah, it's full of great information, links, etc. And there are two different versions of it. Okay, so mindfulness is a, thanks Linda. Yeah, Linda's not receiving Essentials newsletters. So mindfulness is a concept that largely is out of the Buddhist tradition, but it's not about a religion. I certainly am not Buddhist, and those who are probably know it very well, but it also is found in all various secular kinds of arenas. It's found in Judeo-Christian contemplative prayer, mindfulness. So it's a well used concept, and we're going to talk about it today. So what in the world does mindful eating have to do with mindfulness? Thanks, Elaine. Good. So Josh, are you able to help them with the newsletter? That would be great. All right. So thank you so much, Josh. Ladies, Josh is hooking you up with the newsletter. That's great. So what is mindfulness? You can look anywhere. I chose Google. So mindfulness is a mental state achieved by focusing one's awareness on the present moment while calmly acknowledging and accepting one's feelings, thoughts, bodily sensations. It's used as a therapeutic or mind calming technique. Mindful awareness is, number one, paying attention to experiences, emotions, sensations in the present moment with kindness and curiosity. So we'll hear that it's just a three-pronged thing. Paying attention, which means physical sensations, the environment that you're in right now, right here, right now. So that's prong number two. And it's also about paying attention in the present moment without judging, without commentary, okay? So that's what kindness and curiosity means. All right. So to be in the moment is to be mindful, to be in this present moment right now, not tomorrow, not yesterday, but right now. So mindfulness promotes freedom to choose, otherwise known as empowerment. It promotes steadiness and wisdom, because if we're paying attention right here, right now, we can be steady, we can be rooted and grounded. These are lots of words that you hear tossed about, but sometimes they don't have a real anchor to them, and we're going to try to put an anchor on it today. So mindfulness promotes freedom to choose, empowerment, steadiness and wisdom, or balance. Here in behaviorist visits, you hear about creating life balance, work-life balance. Okay, mindfulness can help with that. And it also promotes accepting what is in the here and now. Okay? Any questions as we move forward? All right. Okay. So then how can we apply mindfulness to eating? So we do that by eating with intention and attention. So when we fuel the body, we are eating with intention, and the intention is for self-care, to nourish the body, to provide a sensory experience along with the nourishment. We also eat with the attention that it takes to notice and enjoy the sensory experience and to be aware of how it affects the body without judging, okay? With that curiosity, that calm curiosity, okay? So mindful eating involves, pause, take a look. Josh has given you all the Optifast newsletter sign up and the Essentials newsletter sign up links. So just click those links and fill out the form, and then you will be added to the email list. Great. So mindful eating is eating with intention and attention. So this involves knowing the difference between physical hunger and emotional hunger. It involves being aware of the physical sensations in the body. It also means being aware of the environment, so internal cues and external cues, emotional cues, visual cues, smells, sounds, sights, all of that. It also involves learning to care for yourself, for your body, for your mind, for your spirit, in ways that don't include eating. Okay? Excellent. Josh says, if you're currently on a mobile device and are not getting newsletters, then please send Josh an email. Okay? Phones won't allow you to, mobile devices will not allow you to access these links. So email Josh at the email provided below. And yes, many thanks. That's great. It's very efficient. Okay, so we're going to the next slide. One thing I I'm going to backtrack. One thing I'm going to say with regard to what mindfulness promotes, if you think about it in terms of creating balance, creating empowerment, allowing yourself to accept the here and now, mindfulness promotes a full life rather than just a life that's full. Okay, so mindfulness promotes a full life versus a life that is simply full of stuff. Okay, here we go. So, how do we get started creating a practice of mindfulness? So we get started by considering our relationship with food. You'll hear that a lot in this program, to kind of take a look at your relationship with food. And some people are like scratch their head and go, I don't know what you're talking about, relationship with food. I eat too much sometimes, I don't eat enough sometimes, etc. But everybody has a relationship with food. Everybody has one. Your own unique views and thoughts about food, that's what your relationship is. Your relationship with food involves your own very unique to you, your thoughts and views on food. It is influenced by family, certainly the family of origin, family that you grew up in. It's influenced by peers, by social situations. It's influenced by family heritage. So what my precious friend who's from Midwest, from Minnesota, her family, her heritage is Norwegian, and so everything they eat at Christmas is like white on the plate, mashed potatoes and turkey and something like cauliflower. I mean, so her relationship with Christmas food is that it's white kind of thing. So heritage, the culture that we're in currently, okay, religious norms, certainly. There are some prescriptions depending on what faith you ascribe to for food. So also it's our relationship with food is influenced by the food industry, certainly by advertising, and it's also influenced by our own personal choices. So how do we begin to address our relationship with food and begin to infuse mindfulness into that relationship? So we do it by developing an ear for those influences. And I don't mean literal ear. I mean like just a sense of an intuition, a mindful awareness of how family, peers, social situations, heritage, culture, religious norms, the food industry, advertising, marketing, personal choice, how all of that, we develop an awareness of how all of that actually does influence us. We also develop mindfulness and infuse it into our relationship with food by listening to our body's internal hunger signals and learn to discern the difference between physical hunger and external influences, or emotional hunger or reactive hunger. So we do it by choosing foods and behaviors that lead to satisfaction and satiety, and that can be very nuanced just depending on what the situation is. So I'm going to pause here and give you all a moment or two to type any questions or to share any comments that you might like to share. Please feel free to ask questions. Okay, so I'm going to share with you, we're going to get going, all right? I'm going to share with you a little vignette and see if this sounds familiar to anybody. All right, it's 7:30 in the morning and you're racing out the door. If you've got kids, you've slung the breakfast hash, you've gotten them on the school bus, or you've gotten them to daycare, or the babysitter's come over, but you realize it's too late for you to eat breakfast, so you stop at Starbucks on the way, you grab a pastry, and you eat it in the car on the way to work. Your morning is nutty, phone's ringing off the hook, and you've got emails, and you've got meetings, and you've got people coming in asking you questions, and before you know it, it's 2 o'clock, and you haven't eaten anything. You've got a meeting in 5 minutes, so you run down to the snack machine because you didn't have time to pack your snacks or your lunch because you were leaving in too much of a hurry. And you grab some crackers and a Coke or Pepsi or whatever, and you're chomping on them, running back up the stairs, and then you're on with the rest of your day. Several hours later, you're on your way home, and you have a few errands to run, and you stop, and you realize, oh my gosh, I haven't eaten since 2 o'clock, and then it was a pack of crackers. So you run in the CVS, and you grab some chips and another Coke, and there you go. Does this sound familiar to anybody? Anybody? Yeah, thanks, Linda. Thanks, Susan. Yeah. Yeah. So, I'm realizing, let's go. So you hear a lot in this program about planning and preparing, pre-journaling. Does anybody pre-log when you do your food log? Do you pre-journal? Yeah, great, Katie. So that pre-journaling actually implies you can't pre-journal if you haven't planned ahead, if you haven't prepared ahead, because if you haven't planned and prepared, then you won't know what to put in your journal, right? So that's kind of the end game. Let's back up and let's take just a moment to look at the difference between physical hunger and emotional hunger. Physical hunger comes on slowly over a half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour. Thanks, Diana. Yeah. You pre-log. Yeah? Excellent. So physical hunger comes on slowly. If it has to, it can wait. So if your lunch is sitting on the desk and you're about to dig in, or you're at a restaurant and you're about to dig in and your child has to go to the bathroom, it can wait. Take the child to the bathroom. Somebody comes in your office, asks a question, your lunch can wait, however long. So physical hunger is open to possibilities. Lots of different foods sound appealing or pleasing. So physical hunger is not about, I've got to have this one thing and it's got to be now, okay? So physical hunger goes away once the body has been satisfied. And here's the thing, physical hunger does not create feelings of guilt or shame or negative self-talk, okay? By contrast, emotional hunger arrives suddenly, quickly, on impulse. You are at the mall and you're on the bottom level and you can smell the food court smells kind of diving over the balcony, and you decide you're hungry. Okay? It arrives suddenly, quickly. It feels urgent and it wants to be satisfied right away. Emotional hunger craves certain foods. Think comfort food, okay? It could be ice cream, it could be chips, it could be meatloaf, it could be whatever, okay? And emotional hunger does not go away necessarily, even when physically full. Who, if you want to type out or by raising a hand or what have you, who has had the sense of, gosh, I'm really hungry, I'm going to get that Chick-fil-A sandwich, and you have the Chick-fil-A sandwich, but then you still just want a little something else. And so you go and you get the pack of crackers. Yep, Katie, yeah, me too. Kathy, Susan, oh yeah. Linda raised her hand, yes. And so you go get the pack of crackers, and then I'm still just kind of hungry for something. And so maybe a little bowl of ice cream. So you go get the little bowl, and so you get the point. And then, lastly, emotional hunger creates feelings of guilt, sometimes shame, sometimes that negative self-talk that kind of goes on in here. And really, it renders us feeling powerless. Not like we weren't in control of our choices. Any questions before we move on? Okie doke, moving on. So, I want you to note that this picture and these questions I pulled from a website called amihungry.com. And these are questions that promote mindful awareness, promote awareness, and promote power over food behaviors, promote empowerment, I should say. So, if you look at the mindful eating cycle, take a look at the top. Why? Why do I eat? Am I physically hungry, or has something triggered me to want certain something? And then you go back to those definitions that we just talked about, the physical hunger versus the emotional hunger. Okay, so then we ask when, if we're going to be mindful in our awareness of our food choices, behaviors, then when do I want to eat? Do I want to eat when I'm physically hungry? Have I become aware of the physical sensations? And then what do I want to eat? What do I eat? How do I eat? How much do I eat? Is there that sense of I just haven't quite found the right thing that satisfies this hunger? Or is there a sense of, well, that was pleasant, and I'm feeling satisfied and comfortable and ready to go on with the rest of my day? Where do I eat? Or where do I invest my energy now that I've fueled the body? Am I investing my energy with going on with the rest of my day or the tasks at hand? Or am I directing my energy right away to what's next? What snack can I have and when can I have it? Yeah. Can anybody identify with these questions? And does this make sense in terms of asking ourselves these questions in order to become more aware? Just a shout out. Yay, nay. Yes. Susan, Kathy says yes. Susan says yes, it works great when I'm able to be mindful. Absolutely, Diana. Thanks. So that little vignette, the little scenario that I shared with you earlier, let's go through that scenario with these questions. Okay? So that person, and we all kind of raised our hand and said, yeah, that's been me. That's been me. So that person was eating. Why? Because of impulse, stopping at Starbucks because there wasn't enough time in the morning, stopping at Starbucks, grabbing the pastry. So that person was eating in the car on the way to work. And then what that person chose or just happened upon the pastry, so there wasn't any planning there. There wasn't any awareness of the needs of the body. How do I eat? Well, that person ate in the car, on the go, rushing. I wonder if we even realize what we're eating when we do that. Or are we just kind of shoving it in and going to the next meeting or to the next appointment or to the next distraction, right? Because mindfulness is about being aware and about letting go of distractions. Okay, so how much do I eat? That person wasn't eating much because that person was not aware of time passing. So that's where the mindfulness was missing. And where does that person, who is sometimes me, where am I investing my energy So on a day like that, I'm investing my energy on what am I going to have for supper? What am I going to eat next? Because I'm starving because I haven't fueled my body all day. So, any questions before we move on? All right. So, how do you know then if you're hungry, if you're asking those questions in that circle, right, that cycle of mindful eating, how do you know if you're hungry? Several things you can ask yourself. Be aware, pause first. Be aware. Is it time? When was my last eating episode? Has it been 3 hours? Has it been an hour and a half? So, timing. Is my stomach growling? Am I feeling kind of that gnawing, the physical sensation? Am I feeling a little lightheaded? Am I getting a little dizzy? Do I feel weak or nauseous or shaky? Because that can happen. And sometimes, am I getting a headache because it's been 5 hours since I ate anything? So blood sugar is doing funky things, and we get dizzy or nauseous or shaky or headachy. So another question you can ask is, am I on track for protein? Okay. And then, because it's easy sometimes to mistake hunger and thirst, a lot of times we go for food when really it's thirst. That's the issue. So have I had enough water today? I actually, right now, have not, which is why I've got my water with me. So I'm making up for lost time. And the last thing, have I gotten enough sleep? A lot of times we eat to stay awake. Let's say we've got a deadline for work or school, and we're eating chocolate to stay awake. Has anybody done that? Yeah, I know. Can't relate. Can. All right. Let's keep going. And here's where we get life of fullness versus fullness of life. I want us to pause on this slide and consider Charles Eisenstein's comment. We overeat not because we enjoy food too much. It's because we don't enjoy it enough. I'll confess, when I first read that, and Katie, so true. So, Katie, I'd like to hear your feedback as well as the others. I'll confess, when I first read that, I thought, what? No, I eat it because I like it. Well, no, maybe it's because I'm just being mindless. I'm just, going through the motions. Maybe I'm not really enjoying that one bite, or the small, not savoring the portion. So, what do you all think? We overeat not because we enjoy food too much. It is because we don't enjoy it enough. Yeah, Katie says, enjoying the quality and satisfaction of fueling the body with healthy food versus scarfing just food items and grabbing in order to satisfy hunger or in response to an emotional trigger. Okay, so Katie's on to something. And Susan, interesting concept. Yeah, I agree. It is an interesting concept, and it's provocative. It made me really think. So, what other thoughts, reactions? We can come back to it, but what other reactions do you have? We overeat not because we enjoy food too much. It is because we don't enjoy it enough. So Katie says, I don't always use food to its fullest potential and purpose. Clean eating / eating fresh fruits, vegetables, and meats. Right. Yeah, I think we would all. I mean, I certainly can agree with that. I don't either. I'll share a personal experience. This is self-disclosure, and I think it just came to me, and I think it's an example of Mr. Eisenstein's comment. So, my little family and I went out to eat Mexican the other night, and when we go to Monte de Rey or Mi Pueblo or wherever, the basket of chips and the salsa, and it certainly can become a mindless exercise, right? Chips and salsa, right? So I was knowing that I knew I was going to be doing this exercise, this virtual group today. So I was trying to practice mindfulness. So I was trying to be very aware of a chip and a little bit of salsa. And I thought, when I leave a Mexican restaurant, I usually, if I'm paying attention, I usually feel a little overly full. Anybody with me? Or is it just me that eats a little too much at Mexican restaurants? Okay, maybe it's just me. So, going forward. Oh, yes, Kathy, thank you. Susan, thank you. It's not just me. So I thought, I'm just going to practice this mindful stuff. And I looked through the menu, and I didn't even look at the section that I normally go to. I looked at the specials. Okay, so this I think is now pointing to an example of fullness, life of fullness, being full, physically full, versus fullness of life. Okay, so I didn't even look at the section that will render over fullness. I looked at the special section, and I've never had ceviche. Does anybody know what ceviche is? Yes? No? So it can be done with fish or shrimp, and your favorite, yay! It's my new favorite too, Kathy. So it can be done with fish or shrimp, and it's a very flavorful lime flavor and cilantro, and it's not hot, and it's warm, but it's not hot, and there are lots of different flavors. So the serving comes, and normally they're like, oh, very hot plate, watch this, and there's this huge amount of food, which is way too much food for most of us. But the ceviche came on this modest-sized plate, and there were some little tostada things to go with it. And I thought, oh, first of all, that's different from what I'm used to seeing. And then I took the first bite, and it was really full of flavor. Fullness of life versus life of fullness. And I ended up just savoring it, and really, again, with the intention of doing this virtual group today. So it was on my mind already. So I was able to enjoy that food, and I only ate half of it, and I took the rest home. And it was a smaller serving to begin with. So that, for me, is an example. Does anybody else have an example of perhaps how this quote, which is not always true, perhaps, but how this quote can be useful? I'll give you a minute to type, to process if you want. Okay, let's carry on. Okay, so we've already talked about life of fullness. So let's talk about fullness of life. Food edition. So, meal planning, pause, be present where you are in the moment, be aware that we all will have needs in the future, and we need to take some time to consider what those needs are. And then we can make lists, grocery lists, right? Lists of things to do so that we can plan appropriate meals. And then I think, too, part of mindfulness is this sense of accepting what is, right? And I think we all, if we live in this culture, we can cultivate a position of gratitude for having access to food. We have access to food like other places in the world don't. So I think part of mindfulness is having that awareness and then having gratitude. So, fullness of life, food edition, meal planning, and then move on to food preparation. Honor your limitations. Find ways to simplify, pre-plan, and prepare. Okay? So, honor your limitations. Let's be aware of who we are as workers in the kitchen, as cooks, as people who have certain lifestyles, and honor the limitations. If we know that we're not like a gourmet chef, then don't go purchase a copy of Bon Appetit and think we're gonna like pull off some major gourmet thing. I mean, that's just an example. So honoring limitations too. Maybe it's time limitations. Maybe we honor our limitations and we simplify because we're going to have a really, really busy week, and we know that our time is going to be limited. We know that our patience is going to be limited. So that's the time we would want to pre-plan and do food prep and prepare things ahead of time so that because we're going to have a limited week, we can have just, grab and go healthy, appropriate foods. Okay, fullness of life, food edition, meal planning, food preparation, eating. A mindful eating experience will honor the experience by pausing, by being aware, by checking in with the physical symptoms, they're not symptoms, physical sensations, checking in with emotional cues. Am I being triggered by something? Remember that wheel that we looked at, the mindful questions, mindful eating wheel? The mindful eater will honor the experience by kind of processing those things. The mindful eater will be kind to yourself. Don't wait until it's 2 p.m. and you haven't had anything since 7 in the morning and you've got a headache. I mean, just don't do that to yourself. I used to do that to myself. What was I thinking? I was not being kind to myself, and I had a lot of headaches as a result. So, also, being kind to ourselves is knowing that we're all human, we're all on this journey, and we all have the opportunity to make different choices. Okay? And then, in the eating experience, be thankful. Be thankful for having access to food. Be thankful for those who prepared it. If it was you, be thankful that you had the wherewithal to plan, to prepare, all that. And if you are of a faith tradition, then have a prayer and be thankful to God, and just render that thanks. That's part of being mindful, is the pausing and the awareness in the moment. So I love this little quote over here. When you realize nothing is lacking, the whole world belongs to you. And that's all about being in the moment and realizing, so let me pause, interrupting myself. Has anybody who's here in the room today, has anybody been to my yoga class on Tuesday nights? It's a weight management center yoga class. It's open to any and all of you. Oh, Katie, I'd love for you to come. Any and all of you are welcome to come. It's on Tuesday nights. So tonight, actually, Jessie is subbing for me tonight. Thank you, Jessie. Susan, the time is from 6 to 7. So we meet out in the lobby. If you have a mat, bring it. If you don't, I've got several extras. We use blocks and straps and all kinds of different props. So it's yoga that is accessible to everybody. Okay, it is not. I will say it's not a chair yoga class. We do use mats. Oh, good, Katie. Okay, so anyway, that's my little plug for the Weight Management Center yoga class. Tuesdays from 6 to 7. All you have to do is get a class card from the nutrition shop, and it's 5 classes for $15. You can't beat it. So, all that to say, many times in my classes, I will say, or cue, or just sort of remind my students, we are right here, the time is right now, and in this moment, we have everything we need. Okay? And I think that's what Lao Tzu is saying here, when we realize that nothing is lacking. When we're in the moment, and we know we're right here, right now, and we have everything we need, then the whole world it belongs to us, and we are lacking nothing. So I love that. Any questions before we move on? Any comments? So Brandy, Kathy, Diana, Elaine, Janet, Jennifer, Katie, Ron, and Susan. All right, we're moving on. I'm so glad y'all are hanging in with us. Okay, so these are some mindfulness exercises that I pulled from a pack of cards. Ablett and Willard created this pack of cards, Growing Mindful, and they are published by the Pezzi organization, and they do, if anybody knows Pezzi, does anybody know Pezzi? They do all kinds of continuing education stuff. Yay, Katie knows them. Yeah, they do just a whole range of CEU kind of stuff. So Ablett and Willard created this card deck, and one of the mindful eating cards is called a system check, and I think it has to do, it relates to the mindful eating cycle, that cycle that we did several minutes ago. So the system check is a halt. So right now, what are you feeling? And then the letters. H, are you feeling hungry? A, angry. L, lonely or some other emotion. T, tired. H-A-L-T, hungry, angry, lonely, or another feeling, tired. And if so, what can you do about it? Okay? So, if anybody want to play a little game, we can do this right now. Like, say yes. If you want to play a little game, we can just do it. Thanks, y'all. Y'all are great. Okay, so let's do a system check. So, both feet on the floor, and that's important. That's a kind of a grounding thing. Both feet on the floor, your arms at your sides, either hands in your lap or hands on the arm of a chair. We're going to halt. Thanks, Ron. Yeah, good. Join us. So we're going to halt. And this is our system check. It's our physical system. It's our emotional system. So let's halt and ask ourselves right now, what are we feeling? H, hungry. A, angry. L, lonely or some other emotion. T, tired. Katie's eating right now. Linda's tired. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, whatever we're experiencing. So we were just mindful, and I realize this is awkward kind of with a virtual component. Hungry and a little tired. Thanks, Kathy. Yeah, so we've paused and we've halted. Hungry, angry, lonely, tired. Okay, so Linda is answering the question. If so, what can you do about it? So Linda says she needs to get up and walk, and that'll help. So that's what you can do about it. Great idea. Great idea. So if you're hungry, ask yourself, is it physical hunger? Think about those physical sensations. Is it physical hunger? Is it a form of emotional hunger that's triggered by something else? Yes, physical hunger. Yeah, actually me too, Katie. Yeah, I'm becoming aware of that. See, it's kind of coming on slowly. Okay, so lonely, tired, and if so, what can we do about it? So we're going to close group down in a few minutes, and then I'm going to go eat my lunch. And then Katie, if you have a snack that you brought, then you can dig into that. But what if it's not? What if the answer is no? What if it's angry or lonely or tired? I'm going to suggest, I know this is really small on your screen, but some of you may have seen in your behaviorist visits, there are lists of pleasurable activities. That's one of them. This one is mindful eating, 100 things to do besides eat. Start a hobby, brush your teeth, give yourself a manicure or pedicure, walk your dog, feel your feelings, take 5 slow, deep cleansing breaths. If you want a copy of this list, then at your next behaviorist visit, or even I'll make copies of this and kind of have them around the clinic, so at your next visit, ask for that. And we'll see if we can't get you one, okay? So let's continue on. Our next mindfulness exercise, and this kind of winds us down, this comes from the same pack, the Ablett and Willard Growing Mindful. This is another version of the halt, but this is stop. So stop what you're doing, take a breath, observe your inner world and your outer worlds, and then proceed. So both of these exercises tell us to stop, to pause, to halt, to assess, and then to proceed. Okay? And then the last slide I have is from Mother Teresa. And probably nobody doesn't know who Mother Teresa is. She was a Catholic nun and probably had the largest heart of a servant of anybody in recent history. She says, be happy in the moment. That's enough. Each moment is all we need, not more. Okay, so that's what I'm going to close us with today in terms of our content. What comments or questions do you all have at this point? Oh, Katie, great, thank you. I appreciate that feedback. I want to encourage everybody. This business of being mindful and cultivating mindful awareness. Kathy, you absolutely read my mind. It is a great approach, but it does take practice. And Linda, yeah, Kathy's right. Mindfulness takes practice. Just a few moments a day even. And I say cultivate a mindfulness approach. And even the phrase cultivate implies that it's not a one and done. It is a practice over time to be happy in the moment, to accept that the moment we have is enough. And it is absolutely hard to do if we're stressed. Absolutely. And Susan, yes, it will help with stress if we practice. That is so, y'all are so great. That is so true. It's hard to do when you're stressed, but you'll be less stressed over time if you practice. So just a few minutes a day. And actually in our yoga class on Tuesday nights, we have been doing breath work and different breathing practices that go hand in hand with a mindfulness practice. And breath work is important too. That can help as well. So any other comments before we close down our meeting? All right, so remember, if anybody is not on the Essentials or Optifast e-newsletters, please email Josh or go scroll back up and get those links, and he will, thanks Josh, help you all by getting you that link. The other thing is, please hang on, even after I close the meeting, please hang on and fill out the survey, because that's going to get you your attendance recorded, and it's also going to get your PERCA points. Okay? It has been my pleasure. Thank you, Elaine. Thank you, Linda. Thank you, everybody. I really enjoyed this, and I hope it was valuable in some regard, in some small measure anyway. All right? So y'all hang out, and I'm going to close the meeting, and I will see you next time.